I've made a ton of videos on Assassin's Creed, and it's because I really like these games. They hold a very special place in my heart. I've done massive critiques, tons of video essays on these games. My video on Assassin's Creed Valhalla is 3 hours long and breaks down basically why I think that game is an absolute travesty in almost every way, shape, and form. If you'd like to see it, I have links in the description box below the like button. And because I cover these games so much, inevitably what happens is people reach out to me and ask me what my personal favorite Assassin's Creed game is. And I always tell them the same thing, whether they ask me on Twitch when we're live, or on Twitter, or in our Discord. My answer's always the same: Assassin's Creed Origins. Of course, I have other games I really enjoy. I love Black Flag for a lot of reasons. I love Unity for a lot of reasons. I love Assassin's Creed 2 for the nostalgic factor, but when I think of the game in this franchise that was the most impressive to me and that I still am baffled exists, it's Assassin's Creed Origins. And today I hope to tell you why by actually showing you the game and kind of sharing what I love about it with you. Furthermore, the game just got a big patch from Ubisoft out of nowhere that enables 60 FPS on next-gen consoles. So if you have a Series X, S, or a PlayStation 5, and you've been holding off on Origins, this is the time. You can play with 60 FPS, and it's tremendous. But let me show you why the game is so great. Let's hop over to the desk. Yeah, okay. We made it. Hi, how you doing? Let's do this. And here we are in Assassin's Creed Origins on top of a pyramid. Because where else do you start a video on a game set in ancient Egypt? Of course you start on the pyramid. Now, full disclosure before anybody says anything, I am a through and through die-hard ancient Egypt fanboy. Ever since I was little, like 6, 7 years old, I've always found it so fascinating and interesting. So there's a lot of bias. So when I first found out that we were going to get a video game of a Ubisoft scale, a AAA game set in ancient Egypt, where the map was literally the entire country of Egypt, I got pretty damn excited. So for some people, you know, playing through Odyssey gave them a bunch of extra bias points, as I call them, because they love Greece, or for other people, they love Vikings, so Valhalla got those extra points, or some people love Japan, so a game like Ghost of Tsushima gets extra points. For me, this is that game. This scratches that itch, and this is literally a dream come true. I remember being like 5, 6 years old, more like, okay, realistically, not hyperbolic. I remember being like 8 years old and having an actual dream of there being a video game where I could explore ancient Egypt, because all I wanted to do was go there. And my family, being like a middle lower class, like evangelical family in the South, we couldn't exactly pick up sticks and go to Egypt to like go on a vacation. So this was the dream I had, and now it's an actual thing. It's real, and it's still baffling to me. But setting aside the sheer fantasy of getting to explore ancient Egypt to your heart's content without anybody telling you to get off the pyramids because they're sacred and you shouldn't be climbing them, the game itself is pretty robust too. Now, obviously, it's a pretty big departure from Assassin's Creed before it. Before this game, we had Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which had its own set of eccentricities, but was a pretty solid game in and of itself. But it still felt very Assassin's Creed in the traditional sense. With this game, on the other hand, Ubisoft took a year off just to refine what this game was going to be. And when we got it, it was pretty remarkable. A lot had changed. For one, the developers said very clearly that they wanted to focus on a lot of the things that made The Witcher 3 successful. So they wanted to make sure that every side quest, every encounter that you had a story to go along with it. It sounds simple, but that's a big departure from previous entries in the franchise where you were usually just completing tasks because you were asked to complete them, and that's about it. Furthermore, it's a huge open world RPG. You'll notice at enemy encampments, there are levels associated with every single enemy, so you need to make sure that your gear, your character, everything is attuned properly for that encounter. Otherwise, you'll get your ass kicked. You'll also notice that with certain weapons, there are effectively magic effects. Like you can have fire, poison, sleep, paralysis, all sorts of different things can be elemental damage improvements to weapons, which is also a big departure because it's far less grounded and realistic, and it's much more video gamey. It's very fantasy RPG. They also took a lot of notes from other very successful open world games, and they have a lot of systems that you will probably recognize from other major games, such as Breath of the Wild. You'll notice here, if I draw an arrow and I actually dip it in this fire cauldron, I can light my arrow on fire, which now makes it a fire arrow. And then I can use that to shoot at different objects and start fires like this one I can start on a tent. You'll also notice over there, this guy just laid down. So all of the NPCs have pretty robust AI actually. And you'll notice this guy also is carrying a body with him. So what happens in this game is that all of the guards have schedules. They sleep, they eat, they pee, they use number 2, they do everything. And what they also do is when they notice a dead body, they will clear it out of the camp, because who wants a dead body in their midst? So if you stealth kill somebody and then go about your business and they don't discover you, you are able to actually witness them collect the dead body and carry it outside of camp like that guy's doing, where it can later be buried. It also makes it so you can time out your infiltrations of camps very precisely so that you can... Oh, he just laid down the body. Okay, so this guy just laid down the body. Let's go see where he dumped it just to appreciate the little detail they put there. So you see the body highlighted there. That's somebody I killed with the bow and arrow. And this captain carried the body all the way outside of camp just to dump it all the way out here with... Oh, there's 2. He's already carried 2 bodies over there. I didn't even see the first one. So he's moving all the dead bodies out here where they can later be buried. It's a great touch. And this guy was also carrying another body. It's pretty impressive to me. You know, those little details, they might not seem like they have that big of an impact, but that attention to detail makes the world feel much more alive because it allows you to much more precisely time out your infiltration of these camps. Because if you notice that, say, a guard is on top of this pillar and he's looking down at this area, you can see when he goes to sleep every night. He sleeps maybe for 6 hours, you know, towards the end of the night. So you can time out your attack in high level areas to start during that time when that guy goes to sleep and his post is left unattended. And before anybody asks, in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as far as I can tell after playing it for a long time, all of these cool little AI improvements that they made are stripped out. They're not actually present anymore. Probably because they didn't think it was necessary, more likely because they just were being lazy and didn't want to bother. The game's world design is also tremendous in my opinion. Not only are there just beautiful vistas and things to see everywhere, which are breathtaking in their own right, there's also a lot of really interesting points of interest that are worth exploring. And there's a damn hippo. I need to go faster. Now that AI system I was talking about before, it also is at play within the animals in the world. So these animals all have their own schedules, they do their own things, and they also attack villagers and boaters and fishermen without you forcing it or encountering a specific encounter. It just happens. It's crazy. You kill them, the blood fills the water, which attracts crocodiles and other carnivores to come and attack. It's pretty dynamic and really cool. I'm sorry, Mr. Fisherman. I was too slow and you were killed by a hippo. Fun fact, the first pharaoh of Egypt actually died in a hippopotamus attack while trying to hunt them. Who knew, right? But all these little things, as you explore the countryside, you'll notice caves. And if you go in the cave, every single time there's something of interest there. I also have a torch in my inventory permanently that I can use to light the way. And you can also use this dynamically to, say, light things on fire, like this. Boom! How cool is that? You know, it's one of the things that really frustrates me about Assassin's Creed Valhalla as the newest game in the franchise, because the same team that made Valhalla made Origins. So we know they're capable of this quality and this dynamic gameplay. but they just gave up. And I don't know if it's that they were rushed. I don't know if it's that they just didn't care. They didn't have the budget to do it, or if they just realized that maybe most players don't care enough to bother. But damn, it makes a difference. And it's such a bummer to see them just not care or put that love and attention into it. It's disappointing. There was also a huge change made to the free running system. So previously you had to have very specific handholds to climb up things. Now you can just climb on anything. And I know after Breath of the Wild, we're all kind of used to this, but even back in 2017, in the fall of that year when this game launched, that was still a huge improvement. And the idea that I could just climb up a pyramid or climb up a boulder and it wasn't a problem, that was pretty breathtaking at the time, 5 years ago. It's insane to think it was that long ago, but yeah, 5 years. You also get to live out your dreams and fantasies of being a grave robber. So let's break into this pyramid and see what's inside. Now, this game is not set in ancient Egypt. You know, it's set between like 49 and 43 BC during the Ptolemaic period. So it's not quite the full ancient Egyptian fantasy that many of us probably were hoping for, but it's still pretty cool. One of the things you have to understand and appreciate about this is, like, this is set in 49 BC, okay? That's over 2,000 years ago, right? From today. The distance from Bayek in this moment, 2,000 years ago, to when this pyramid was built is greater than our distance to Bayek. That's insane. Like, literally, these pyramids were more ancient to the people in 49 BC than those people in 49 BC are to us. That's how ancient and amazing the ancient Egyptian civilization is and was. Like, for thousands of years, they were doing these incredible things, crafting these monuments. It's just breathtaking. It's so cool to me. Now, perhaps the most bizarre thing about Assassin's Creed Origins is that it's very realistic and grounded in a lot of ways. You know, the recreations of these villages and ancient Egypt just as, I'm so sorry, as a country is pretty impressive. But it still marks the first step away from truly grounded stories and settings that this franchise would begin to suffer from for the next few years leading up to Valhalla, where you're straight up just playing as Odin and ushering in Ragnarok. They've just totally lost the plot by that point. And in this case, while it looks realistic at the start, there still are some pretty fantastical elements. I've hinted at some of them with, say, the introduction of things such as elemental fire damage and poison damage, things like that, but it's a video game, maybe we can forgive that. Look at some of this stuff I'm about to show you. So you'll notice this marker in certain locations, and this is part of the end game content. Instead of adding new areas or grounded missions where you have to like stealth your way into combat sequences, this is what we get. So we fight different Egyptian gods, and it's passed off as, I guess, a sort of maybe animus glitch or something. I guess it's not really clear. And I gotta be honest, these boss fights aren't that great. They're just kind of like you run around, shoot this orb, and that's it. It's not my favorite. It's like very 2007 in terms of big scary boss design. It's too bad because it looks cool, but it's just not very fun. So yeah, as far as end game content, not that tremendous. There is level scaling and things that you can turn on to make the end game more interesting, but I mean, in my case, this particular save has approximately maybe 50 to 70 hours on it, and I've cleared a lot of stuff, but I still do have some different encampments to clear and objectives to accomplish. And I've got these here. I've killed a couple captains. I haven't looted all the treasures. So I've done a lot of stuff, but there's still areas that I've yet to fully explore on this save. So easily, I think you could expect to get 70, 80 hours of this game, and it's pretty solid all the way through. Now, the overarching point of this video was to go back to this game and see, for one, if it holds up and is as good as I remember it being from 5 years ago. and then to also just kind of understand what's happened in the time since, because Assassin's Creed has continued to change a lot in that time, and so has the gaming industry in general. And what I'm taken aback by is, for one, the sheer scale and detail work they put into this game is really impressive. I think you've got to acknowledge it's impressive what they did here. Say what you will about Ubisoft, they deserve most of the criticism that they get, but when they are at their peak is when they are doing this, in my opinion, when they are recreating ancient cities in detail. It's just tremendous, and I love it dearly. Getting the chance to explore these cities and cultures, which are now lost to history, is truly a one-of-a-kind experience, and it's something I've always appreciated about Assassin's Creed. But looking at it as a video game first and foremost, I can appreciate a lot of things that they've done here. They improved the combat system. Of course, the sheer amount of content in this game world is pretty staggering. The end game isn't tremendous, but everything else is pretty great, and I remember having a great time with it. And even jumping back into it now, the combat feels responsive, the stealth is solid, and the world exploration is top-notch itself as well. Furthermore, they have all sorts of different systems, such as the Hippodrome, where you can actually race. Like, that's crazy. They also have tons of side content, and every single one of these side missions has a story to go along with it. There isn't a single one of them that's just tossed in here, hey, go get this thing, bring it here, or hey, a settlement needs your help. None of that stuff. It's all effortful and very carefully put together. It's great. And starting this video, I didn't think that I would get kind of like, I guess, bummed out, because I look at this, I look at how much effort and passion was in this game's development, and it makes me realize just how little of it was at play in the development of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Because this was made by the same team. The team that did Black Flag, did Origins, and then did Valhalla, and they're just so different. It feels like Valhalla is the epitome of a corporatized, like, game design by survey, crappily put together money grab, and that's it. Whereas this game, it actually feels like a team of artists tried to create something really unique and special, and you can feel it all the way through. It's tremendous. You know, what it really brings me back to is just hoping that in whatever the next Assassin's Creed game is, that they don't just bring back stealth and make sure that in an Assassin's Creed game is a viable gameplay method, but also that they get back to the roots of recreating these historical locations. It's why I personally have always really thought that these games are more than just video games. They are actual pieces of art, and they serve a broader cultural purpose as well. I mean, of course, we all know that in Assassin's Creed Unity, they have the Notre Dame Cathedral, and after the big fire that hit that a few years ago, they actually started using the in-game models and scans of Notre Dame for the video game in the restoration process. These games actually can have a positive impact that is long-lasting and affects the real world, not to mention that just giving kids and people the opportunity to interact with these ancient cultures and civilizations, even in the form of a video game, is worth it in and of itself. It makes you really appreciate what the people that came before us were able to accomplish when we can see it in this format. Sure, it's not a one-to-one recreation. Sure, this is a video game, but it's still very impressive, and I think it still serves the purpose. I know it's a cliche thing to be like, oh, this video game changed my life, or this video game is so much more than a video game. It gave me a hard-on, or whatever else. But, like, I really do mean it when I say that a game like Origins is almost more than a game, as far as I'm concerned, because it is a window to the past. It's a window to something that has long since been forgotten. And that's something truly special, and I hope beyond hope that Ubisoft doesn't give up on it and gets back to their roots and starts putting their teams of artists, thousands of artists, behind a project like this again, recreating these ancient cities, cultures, civilizations, and locations, and letting us explore them in a fun setting, but in a setting that is still true to the source material, at least somewhat, without a reliance on magic or any other crap that they think is necessary. But I think that'll do it for me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so that I know that I should make more stuff like this. And if you have a game that you'd like me to go back and try again, let me know in the comment section. As always, follow my Twitch, my Twitter, all of that stuff. I'm supposed to ask you to do that. I would love to see you over on Twitch. I might be live at this very moment that you're watching this video. So head over to the link tree in the description box below the like button. Head to the little Twitch link. Say hi if I'm live. I'd love to see you. Otherwise, you know, follow so you get notified of when I'm live. Can't hurt, right? And I'm supposed to ask you to follow my Twitter because Twitter is necessary, I guess. I've wanted to quit Twitter so many times just because I hate it, but everybody's like, no, Twitter, you need to be on Twitter if you're an influencer. It's how you connect with people. I'm like, it sucks though. Like I hate it. I don't want it, but apparently I need it. So if you follow me over there, I would appreciate it as well. And maybe you'll make it a little more worthwhile. But that's it for me. Thank you for watching. I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.